Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to my movie discussion for today. Now, today's movie topic is going to actually be about, when studios announces reshoots and stuff like that, and what does it mean? Does it mean that the movie's in jeopardy? Does it mean that we should end up, being worried about it? And the answer to those questions is absolutely not. Studios always make it time in their budget to do reshoots when necessary. For instance, studios might actually say, hey, look, maybe you might want to go on ahead and touch this part up in another way or whatever. Maybe the script might actually look at, maybe, you can touch something up a little bit more than what you did in the first time, the first go around. So what they would do is they would go on ahead and they would polish it up real nice and everything and try and get things that they might have missed from whenever they were doing it the first time. Now, with the whole entire issue with the whole entire thing with Star Wars Rogue One last week. Now, I was one of those people that ended up thinking about it this way. It's one thing if the director steps in and says, I need to go on ahead and work on this. And because I see some problems within the film and everything, and I think I can actually polish it up a little bit more. But it's another thing whenever a studio comes in at you and says, I think that you need to go on ahead and do some reshoots because this thing doesn't look that good. Now, that's the way I was going about it. But as I kept on digging a little bit more, because here's the thing. I don't just go after one movie source or anything like that. I always wait at least a couple hours or whatever until I post something to make sure that what I'm seeing is actually true or not. But in this case and everything, I decided to go in and put a little small speculation on the whole entire fact, and that's what I just told you about. And however, I was actually wrong about that. As a matter of fact, a little page called Plan 9 or something like that. I forgot what the page is called actually. But anyways, it's kind of like what Movie Pilot is. 99.9% of the time, they might actually get something right. And, sometimes a broken clock will actually get something right every once in a blue moon when a witch is crossing over it. But, for this case and everything, this page was absolutely wrong. Now, like I told you before, like, for instance, whenever a studio goes in, whenever the studio always makes time for their budgets and stuff like that. Like, once the movie stops and everything, they can go into it again and say, look, can go on ahead and polish this up, or maybe the director will even tell you, "Hey, look, I will even go. Maybe I can make that a little bit better. Maybe that scene could actually do a little bit more fresh up, and maybe I need to go on ahead and do that." As a matter of fact, I wouldn't read too much into the fact of, "Oh no, reshoot, panic." No, there's no such thing as that because studios always make budgets and stuff like that for their movies that they're trying to create. Another thing too that I would actually look into is the whole fact that they can do reshoots at any time and any time too. For instance, they were already finished filming Thor, The Dark World. Excuse me. And basically, what happened with this was they went on ahead and reshot a couple of things. Well, what I'm thinking is that they went back and reshot the ending of Thor, The Dark World, where you see Loki sitting on the throne instead of Odin, and pretty much Loki is pretending to be Odin. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Thor: The Dark World. If you haven't seen it by now, it's either you don't care about it or you have no interest in seeing that movie. But, that's what I'm thinking too, that the studio actually, well, the director actually said, hey, I can actually do a better job with this. I need to go in and I need to polish it up. And that's exactly what happened with this case too. Because I don't think there's anything to worry about with Suicide Squad. From what I gather, there was a pre-screening for the fans, not the people who are in, not the studio heads or anything like that. This was actually dedicated for the fans and for the fans only, for them to go and see. Then you have to look at Star Wars Rogue One. Star Wars Rogue One and everything. They might actually go in and try and polish up a few things here and there, but it's nothing to worry about because these things are normal and everything is part of their budget, and that's the way it is. So, with all that being said and done, I wouldn't worry about that too much. Anything that you say, oh, this movie's in jeopardy, ignore it. Ignore that factor. Unless it comes from a source like Collider, JoeBlow.com, or anything like that. Because if it comes from another source that's not a reliable source, what you're doing is you're actually entertaining the idea of the fact that this could actually be true whenever it's not true. If I were you, I would wait a little bit and just check and see where the source actually came from. Because, and come to think of it, I just actually remember the page name. It was called Page 9, which is actually out of the UK. And they actually made that story. Then a couple of people actually contacted Disney and everything to find out if it was true or not, and Disney said absolutely not, it's not true, and that's why we shouldn't breathe into this too much. So, with that being said, tell me what you guys think about this whole entire situation with reshoots and everything. I know some of you guys feel like reshoots and everything is fine. Like I mentioned before, it's all part of the budget, it's all part of the plan. There's nothing really to worry about, and I think this is just something that we should be able to talk about. Anyways, until next time, bye-bye.